I watched Trump's press conference on lowering prescription drug prices today, so you don't have to, and here's my overview. They spoke for about an hour and he only mentioned Biden 3 times, which is an improvement from what he did when he was addressing the US military leaders, which is the video immediately preceding this one if you'd rather watch that video. He starts off again, he does this all the time, by just being unable to recognize which of his cabinet members are there. He asks where someone is who's standing literally right behind him, and then the other people have to be like, oh, he's right there. He literally does this all the time. He also reiterates the thing that he said before where prices are going to be reduced by over 1,000%. He then later, like a minute later, says that prices are going to be reduced by 50 to 100%, and then will right after that say that it's 1,500 and 1,600% reduction in some cases. It's just all over the place with the math. He says this reduction was definitely going to happen in his first term, but then COVID came up and he just wasn't able to do it, but now they're getting it done. Then RFK comes up and says that Trump just constantly harassed him and Dr. Oz about getting this done. And then he talks about people paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for their medication and other people who are choosing either food or medication. All these people can talk about this all day and never have the thought that Medicaid for all or Medicare for all should be a good idea. They then have some random business dude come up who started some medical business, I guess, and he says that TrumpRx.com is going to be opening it up very soon, and that on that, because everything in these press conferences is just a trove of contradictions, that there will be an 80%-ish reduction in drug prices on TrumpRx.com. Next, the Pfizer CEO talks, and right at the beginning, Trump interrupts him and is like, "You've got a great office, but I think that this is the best office in the world," as it's just decked out in the most gaudy gold shit ever. Now it's time for Trump to start speaking again. He says that his meeting on Tylenol went super duper well and he got very high marks on that, whatever that could possibly mean. He then reiterates again that there's going to be over 1,000% reduction in drug prices, and he uses these numbers. He says a pill that was $10 in London costs $130 in the US, and that we're going to get it down to $10, which would be, if you do the math, a 92% reduction. He then, like 2 minutes later, says that, in fact, what's actually going to happen is we're going to get it down to like $18, and then in other countries, it's going to go up to $18. So again, a reduction from $130 to $18 a pill, which works out to 86% reduction, because he does not understand that greater than 100% reduction would be drug companies paying you to take their drugs. He says even though these numbers are fantastic, they're going to get even better over time, and that next week he's going to be showing you the 1,000+% reduction in drug prices. Next week, just next week, it's going to be here. He also says they're going to try and do the exact same thing with the US healthcare system, but that it's a different group of people, so he doesn't know whether or not he's going to be able to get that done. He says that Obamacare is a failure and that it's in the lower 20% of healthcare. I don't even know what that means. He then also says that prescription medicine is 50% of the cost of healthcare in the United States. You can just Google it. It's 8.9%. He says the Pfizer CEO did a great job with the COVID. And then he says that if in other countries they still refuse to raise their drug prices, he's just going to tariff them. He says that Pfizer is going to put $70 billion of investment into the United States. The Pfizer CEO does not dispute this, but I will let you know that the market cap of Pfizer is $144 billion, and their revenues from 2024 was only $63 billion. So they're going to put in more than their entire revenue from last year into investment in the United States, which makes perfect sense. He claims again that $17 trillion has come in investments in the past 8 months. I don't know why I have to keep fact checking this one, because the first thing you find on whitehouse.gov is the list of foreign and domestic investments, which totals up to $8.8 trillion. And I fact checked that number, and that number is also complete bullshit. He says that 2020 was rigged, of course, and then he says that insulin cost $200, $300, $500, and you couldn't even get it, and then he got it down to $35, but then Biden stole credit for that. All that he did was sign an executive order which temporarily reduced pricing of insulin, and then Biden was able to, through legislation, actually permanently reduce the price of insulin, so he just is lying, of course. On that note, too, he also calls that reduction in the price of insulin 1,000%, and says that even though Biden was trying to take credit for it, he knew nothing about it. Not a thing. He says that overall, this is going to be the biggest reduction in pricing that you've ever seen. It's going to be 10 to 15%, not just of pharmaceuticals, that you've ever seen. He also says that he's still coming up with an idea to replace Obamacare that's going to be much better than Obamacare. You remember, concepts of a plan? Oh, sorry, I just realized I wasn't dressed properly for this. He says that Democrats want to give immigrants the Cadillac of insurance, and then says that 0 people have crossed the border in the past 4 months, and he can only trust that because it comes from a very liberal group. He then says that Dems want open borders, men and women's sports, and transgender for everyone. And then he says that transgender surgery is bad. Just in general, bad. I know you're not going to believe this, but he says a year ago we were a dead country and now we're the hottest country in the world. And then he says that the shutdown that's coming is definitely the fault of the Democrats because they want transgender for everyone and healthcare for immigrants. And he says that it's a dangerous game that they're going to play because if they let the government shut down, he's just going to cut all of the aid that people get. He's just going to cut all of it. He reiterates again, the government is only going to shut down because the Democrats want to give health care to all illegal immigrants. And then a reporter asked him, hey, illegal immigrants aren't able to sign up for the programs, the federal programs that you're talking about. So what do you mean they want to give it to immigrants? And he goes, well, this is just unsustainable to continue giving this money to healthcare for immigrants, which they directly asked him a question. Hey, that's not possible. And then he reiterates again that he's going to cut all benefits to people if the Democrats allow for this to get shut down. So if you're on SNAP, if you're on CHIP, if you're on Medicare, Medicaid, just gone if the Democrats allow this to shut down, even though they control the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. Talking again about immigrants, he says that he has a big heart, probably a bigger heart than anyone in the room. So that's why he doesn't want to give any health care to any immigrants, even though that's something that's not happening. He says again that 25 million people have come in under Biden, even though he's unable to provide a source for any of that. He also says that there has been no crime in D.C. in a very long time and keeps talking about how safe D.C. is now and that restaurants are finally opening up. He says that 11 people were killed in Chicago in the last few weeks, and that constitutes a war zone, even though he's constantly talking about the fact that in Ukraine, 5,000 to 7,000 people are dying each week. But apparently 11 is a war zone. He says that Pritzker is a loser and then says that for years, no restaurants opened up in D.C., but just since he brought in the National Guard, 2 restaurants have opened up in D.C. I'd love to know if there's a restaurant owner in D.C. who opened sometime in the last 4 years, not since the National Guard came in, because obviously there are a bunch. Hell yeah, 10%ers, this is your second video today. If you haven't watched the one on his meeting with the leaders of the U.S. military, I highly recommend you watch that one because it was crazy and it is the video that immediately precedes this one. Now I have some thank yous. This person says, thank you for the work you do. I look forward to your content and truly appreciate your recaps. Sending good vibes from Austin, and that one is from Shonda. They sent me an American flag, which I have already hung up out front of my house because these people do not own America's flag or any colors for that matter. Transgender for everyone. Donald J. Trump. Tina sent a Banksy print. That's very nice. Thank you very much for that, Tina. No message. They DM'd me separately because it didn't come with a receipt thing. This person says, thank you for taking the time to make your videos. They are very critical to keeping us informed about this clown car the orange paranoid parasite is supposedly driving. That one's from Betsy. They sent a puzzle. It's 101 dogs pooping. It's pretty cute puzzle, so thank you for that. This person says, I appreciate your summaries on our ridiculous administration. I hope this puzzle invigorates your brain after the daily trauma from Munjami in Texas. And they sent a national parks puzzle. Thank you for the puzzle. Puzzles I do love doing. They just they take some time, and these are 1,000-piece puzzles, so it's going to take some time. This one says, enjoy your gift. Thank you for watching and breaking down all the speeches so I don't have to. From Carrie H. They sent me a post driver, like U posts. I use them to hang up the trellising for my cucumbers and also to keep my fruit trees kind of locked in. So I did need that. Thank you very much. I had one at some point, and having moved across the country twice in the past, 5 years, it's gone. So, things like that happen. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much, everyone who does send gifts. Thank you so much, everyone who just watches. I really do appreciate you guys. I appreciate the time you spend with me. I appreciate that you listen to me as a voice of reason, because that is all I'm trying to be in this crazy, crazy world we live. Bye.